can feel it. I'll just tell people, if you could have anything you want and there were no limitations, what would you do? And everyone has an answer. Little kids, big adults. And that's their core essence. And if we all just fully do that which we're passionate about and understand the principles for how to bring that into being, then I believe the world will work perfectly. And that's why I do what I do. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, it's a pleasure to be here and to share these ideas with you and really help you take your life to the next level, which is what we all want to do, or we wouldn't come out to these kind of events. I'm going to start by sharing with you a number of very important critical ideas. And the first one is this one. There's a friend of mine, his name is Orrin Hudson, and he was the Alabama State chess champion. And he grew up in the ghettos of Birmingham and became a chess champion. Then he was the #1 Cadillac dealer and became a professional speaker. And I was talking to him, we were having lunch together down in New Orleans, and it was at a professional speakers convention, and we were talking about my new book, The Success Principles. It was about to come out, and he said, you know, to me, success is like knowing the combination to a lock. He said, if you know the combination to a lock, it doesn't matter if you're male or female, white or black, Hispanic or Asian, you're 55 or you're 16, your IQ is 150 or your IQ is 93. If you know the combination, the lock has to open. And the problem is, most of us are going through life and we don't know the combination. We maybe have 3 of the 4 numbers we need, but we don't have them all. And so the idea is that what I've spent 30 years of my life doing was researching what is the combination to the lock, interviewing people at the top of their careers, whether they were athletes, politicians, people in business, etc., and saying, what is this combination? What is the system? And if you know a system always produces a predictable result. You know, if you use my Aunt Betty's apple pie recipe, it always comes out really good if you do what it says, because it's a system that's proven. And so I want to share with you the basics of a system that works. No matter what you're starting out at, wherever you are, it will work for you. And you may remember oilman J. Paul Getty. He was at one time the richest guy in the United States. And he said there are 3 secrets to success. It's very simple. He said, you have to get up early, you have to work hard, and he said, find oil. It's that simple, okay? Now, obviously, it's not that simple. If it were, we'd all just go do that. And so I wrote this book called The Success Principles, and in it there are 64 principles of success. 64. Now, that's a lot. A lot of people go, you know, that's like too much to learn. So what I've done for you today, we're going to cover about 8, 9 of those principles, the core essence, the necessary building blocks that if you do them, they'll take you to the next level. Now, the promise I always make people is threefold. If you do this work and you apply it to your life, and the key is apply it, not just listen to it, but put it into practice. Number 1, you can double your income. And number 2, you can double your time off. And you can create more balance in between your work life and your family life and have a lot more fun. And you can do that in 3 years or less. Now, how many people here, if you could double your income and double your time off in 3 years or less, would be interested in learning how to do that? Okay, good response. We're talking to the right crowd. So basically, how do we do that? And I first of all want to tell you that it is possible, because a lot of times people go, well, how do I know I can really trust you? Well, I've done it in my own life, and I've taught hundreds of thousands of people to do this around the world. Just a couple of quick little stories here. We work with a company called RE/MAX of Indiana. It's a real estate company. And we taught them these principles. And in the first year, 65% of the people doubled their income. By the end of the second year, over 85% of the people had doubled their income. And the company had doubled its total revenues. And went on, many people tripled and quadrupled their income in 2 years or less, okay? In my own life, here's one of my students, Scott Schilling. He said, I took your training and I learned these principles. And literally, he said, I made 22% of my 365-day salary in just 2 days after working with you. Now think about that. That's a fifth of his yearly income in 2 years. I mean, 2 days rather. Look at my own life. I have a Guinness Book of World Records. I had 7 books appearing on the New York Times bestseller list on the same day. Stephen King was the only guy that had 6 before that. And he had done that book, The Green Mile, and it came out in 6 chapters. No one's ever done that since. Here's a check written to me for $1,130,328. It's the first check our publisher had ever written for $1 million. He actually put a smiley face in his signature, if you can look real. He was so happy to have to write that kind of check. And that represented 3 months of book royalties for the first Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And that year, Mark and I both made $6 million, my co-author, and I split a $12 million royalty on that. Now, I share that with you not to impress you about me, but to impress upon you. If little Jack Campfield, who grew up in Wheeling, West Virginia, and who graduated from the half of the class that made the top half possible, can do this, then literally anybody can do it. It's not about brain power. It's about knowing the principles. Gravity always works. If I drop this, it always falls. It's never floated. Never had that happen in my life. And so if you know the principles, you can use them. Like we can make water flow downhill. All the drainage systems in your house take advantage of that. Gravity works. So what are the principles, again, that work for us? Now, Jim Rohn says you can't hire other people to do your push-ups for you. I love that quote. I can't hire, what's your name? I can't hire Robin to go to the gym and work out for me and have my muscles get more toned. I can't hire you to meditate for me and I'm going to get a higher consciousness. I can't hire you to do my planning for me at night so my day is more organized the next day. All the things I'm going to teach you are things that you have to do. There are things that no one else can do for you. There are things. You can delegate certain things in your life, but not your health care, not your meditation, not your exercise, not these principles and strategies that we're going to be learning here today. So the first principle, building on that, says you must take 100% responsibility for your life and your results. And what that means is you have to give up all blaming, all complaining, all excuse making, all looking out at the world and saying, well, if the world were different, then I would be better off. Right now, we're all upset about the Chinese and the Indians are using more oil, which is sending the oil prices up, and we wish that wasn't happening. Some of you may love the president we have, some of you may not. We go through all these things where we say, if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for the war, if it wasn't for him, if it wasn't for her, if it wasn't for the economy, then my life would be working perfectly. But there's a little formula I learned that's very, very powerful, and it really is the basis of everything I teach. It says E plus R equals O. And what that stands for are the events in your life, you have a response to them, and that creates outcomes. And everything in your life that you experience, whether you love it or you complain about it, is an outcome of how you've responded to earlier events. For example, if I put $200 in front of you and you go out and party with it, a month later your net worth hasn't increased. But if I put that $200 in front of you, that's the event, your response is you invested, and then a year later maybe it went up to $250. So now your net worth went up. Same event, different responses. What's your name? Valerie. Let's say I say to Valerie, of all the people I've ever met, Valerie, you have to be the biggest idiot I've ever met in my life. Now, how many people think that would raise her self-esteem? No hands go up. How many people think that make her self-esteem go down a little bit? Yeah. See, everyone that just raised your hand was not listening to the lecture called E plus R equals O. It's not what Jack says to Valerie. It's what Valerie says to Valerie when Jack stops talking. She might have said, oh my God, the man's only known me a few minutes. How'd he figure it out so fast? Right? Her self-esteem would go down. Or she might say, Campfield's only known me for a few minutes. He can't really know what I'm like. I'm sitting in the front row. People that sit in the front row are really willing to participate. I've got a good ego structure. You see me smiling at my jokes. Besides, I'm one of the more attractive women in the room. Probably can't keep his eyes off me anyway. Now, if he said that, which way would her self-esteem go? It would go up, see? So if she says that. So basically, it's not what people say to you. It's not what they do to you. The world's just out there worlding. It's not personal. And if you want a different outcome, because E plus R equals O is like 2 plus 2 equals 4, and if you're not happy with 4, you've got to change your response. The word responsibility means you have the ability to change your response to something other than what you're currently doing. And if you would do that, you would get a different outcome. Does that make sense? Yeah. So basically, we are responsible to change our behavior until we get the outcomes we want. And that's kind of an experiment. You never know if something's going to work or not. Maybe you're distant from your spouse and you try a new communication technique you learn in a workshop and it works. You go, oh, great. Or maybe you try it and it doesn't work. Well, there's just about 500 more you could try. You know, you could read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, Children Are From Hell, one of those books. And just kidding. But, you know, there's so much out there, so many good techniques. And unfortunately, most people don't experiment with trying on new ones. Life should be approached as a huge experiment. And you just keep experimenting until you get it right, okay? All right, we talked about that, so we'll go to this. E plus R equals O again. I want to give you a business example. A friend of mine during the first Gulf War was a Lexus dealer, and people stopped coming in to buy Lexuses. They were all watching CNN and CNBC and watching the war on TV. And plus, we were having a minor recession, so people were holding on to their discretionary income. So what happens was, he said to his staff, E plus R equals O. There's a war. People are watching TV. Our responses, we've been doing the same thing. Ads on the radio, ads in the newspaper, waiting for people to come in. Well, they're not coming in. We better do something different. We're not going to go out of business, but we're going to take a huge economic hit if we don't. So they tried 4 things, one of which worked. I'll tell you what that was. They said, if the people aren't coming to us, let's take cars to where they are. Okay? So they would go out with 5 or 6 Lexuses, and they'd go to a party. What's your name, sir? Tom. They go up and say, Tom, what do you do for a living?
I'm an investment banker.
You're an investment banker. How's the investment banking business doing these days?
Great.
Doing great. What's he eventually going to ask me? What do I do? And I'm going to say I'm a Lexus dealer. And then I would say, have you ever driven a Lexus?
Yes.
Yes. Did you like it?
Loved it.
Loved it. You know, we have a new LS400 outside, never been ridden by anyone. It's got the new Nakamichi sound system, quadraphonic sound. It's got the tilt-back mirrors. It's got the new seats that have the air that comes out that can keep you warm or keep you hot, depending on what you need. Would you like to take a little spin with me, see what it's like? Great. So we go and we take a little spin in the Lexus. Now you come back in. Let me ask you a question. How many of you have ever test driven a new luxury car and then got back in your old car? You know that feeling? You were really satisfied until then. Well, they ended up selling over 60% of the people they did that with a new car within 2 weeks. Because they didn't wait, they tried something different. And if you keep experimenting like that, you'll find the R that works, but you have to be willing to take a risk. And the reason most of us don't do that is we don't want to feel uncomfortable, because all new things require discomfort. I'd like you all to do this with me real quick. Fold your hands like this, and you can do this watching at home, in your hotel room, wherever you might be if you're watching this on a TV set. And notice which thumb is on top, your right or your left. And whatever that is, I'm going to ask you to unfold all your fingers and have the other thumb show up on top. Okay? Don't just move the thumb, but all the fingers are moving. Now, how does that feel? Uncomfortable, awkward, strange, yucky, wrong, not me, right? Now, what does your body want to do?
Go back.
Wants to go back, so let it go back. How's that feel? Most of you said better. Tom over here went, oh, like, I'm me again, right? What happens is, literally in life, this is what stops most people from being successful. One of the things is that they would rather be comfortable than do what's required. Anytime you do something different, it's uncomfortable by its very nature. Now, most of you remember learning to drive a car. You were probably awkward. You know, you forgot to hit the clutch when you hit the brake. But after a couple months, you're there driving with your knee. You got a Big Mac in your left hand. You're breaking up a fight in the back seat with the kids with your right hand. No big deal. But you have to be willing to go through that awkward, uncomfortable stage. And most people, unfortunately, won't do that. And so they get locked in what we call their comfort zone. So what I want you to do is to realize that life is an experiment. You have lots of responses that are possible. And I'm going to teach you some of those new ones, perhaps, that you can apply to your success. So there's 3 kinds of responses. Number 1 is your behavior, what you do and say out loud. Number 2 is your thoughts. Number 3 is the images you hold in your head. Those are the only 3 things you have any control over in your life. What you say and do, the thoughts you think, and the imageries that you hold inside your head. So we're going to look at this whole area of thoughts for a minute. And I'm going to ask somebody to come up here and volunteer to do a little exercise with me. It'll take about 1 minute. So, okay, great. What's your name?
Marianne.
Marianne, very good. Come on up, Marianne. And I'd like you to turn around and face the group. Now, are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Right-handed. Is your left arm okay? Any injuries going on here? Very good. So what I'm going to do is push down on your arm. I want you to push up, okay? So we'll see how strong you are. Very good. Now, you said your name was Marianne?
Yes.
So say, my name is Marianne out loud.
My name is Marianne.
And then resist. That's a very funny last name. But let's... So my name is Marianne.
My name is Marianne.
And resist, good and strong. Now I want you to make up a name that's not yours. My name is Margaret. My name is Joe. Any name at all. And just say it, and then I'll test your arm.
My name is Kathy.
Say it one more time.
My name is Kathy.
And resist. What happened to your arm?
It went down.
Was it as strong?
No.
No. My name is Marianne. Say that.
My name is Marianne.
And then say, my name is Kathy.
My name is Kathy.
And without any effort, it goes down. Now see, when you lie, this whole set of muscles goes weak. Okay? Literally, the whole Michael Jackson trial could have taken about 1 minute. All right? And we would have known one way or the other. But see, the reality here is that your thoughts affect your physiology. We just saw that. The brain wasn't designed to lie. It was designed to perceive truth and organize truth and express truth. Then things work. Otherwise, you're called psychotic or you're called a liar and gets in trouble and so forth. So let's look at one of the lies we tell ourselves. I'd like you to think of something you always wanted to do, Marianne, that you didn't think you could. Like, I can't sing, I can't bowl, I can't skydive, I can't start a business.